Okay, alright, today we have a Lancer EX 1.6 which we're going to be installing our power package, which includes the K&N air intake, hot pipe headers, and before it was unit shift, now we're just going to do ECU reflash because one, it's cheaper, and two, we get slightly better power. Well, not all the time, but yeah, it's cheaper. So this is our newly installed K&N short ram intake. It's short ram because it is short, like that. As you can see, there's no mass airflow sensor here on the 1.6 cars. Unlike the 2-liter cars, there's a mass airflow sensor here. One of the questions that you may be asking is, do you have a heat shield? Yes, we can make one, we can put one, but there will be no added power because you have a heat shield on, for the very simple reason that, number one, there's no temperature sensor on the intake anywhere. So the amount of heat doesn't really matter. Putting a heat shield will not get you any more power. You are not actually making the air any much more colder underneath the engine bay. You are not isolating any of the heat, as in nothing. At the most, if ever, you will save half a degree. You'll be very lucky if you get 1 degree colder. So no, a heat shield on cars like this are not needed. And the reason why also is because most people fail to understand that the air underneath the engine bay is not constant. There's always a fresh stream of air coming in from the grill in the front that feeds the filter. So, and what's hot for you, the person, is not hot for the engine at all, and it's fine. And another thing that most people will say that, oh, but it's near the exhaust, because this is where our headers are and this is where the intake is. So some people might say, oh, it's malapit, hindi ba mainitan? No, because when the car is moving forward, all the heat from the exhaust moves back that way. There is no way that the heat makes a U-turn and goes here to the front. It's physically impossible. And these are our hot pipe headers. Down there, it's a bit hard to see because it's at the back of the engine. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's a 4-1 design. You might be wondering why it's 4-1. I will link a description of my video that explains why 4-1 versus 4-2-1 is utterly stupid in the description below, so you can check that out. But for simplicity purposes, 4-1 is the correct design for this engine. So afterwards, we're gonna put it back on the dyno and then see how much power we gain from the intake and the header, and then we're gonna tune it. Any car in the world, I don't care who makes it. It can be McLaren, it can be Ferrari, it can be the China-made cars. They all need air, fuel, and spark. Basta pag gasolina, kailangan tatlong yan. Habang nasa planet Earth tayo, nandyan. Sa Mars, hindi natin alam. So the fuel obviously comes from the gasolinahan. The air comes from the air all around here. Your car right now is 1.6 liters. Hindi dahil nagpalit ka ng air filter at saka naglagay ng header, kasi madalas na sinasabi ng tao, oh, magpalit ka dyan, lalaki yung volume ng hangin. Mali yun. the volume doesn't increase. The volume stays the same. 1.6 pa rin yung hinihigop niyang hangin. Hindi siya magiging 2 liter, hindi siya magiging 3 liter, lalo na hindi siya magiging 1.3. What actually increases is the ganun kayo ng ganun. Pero did you rin, what does flow mean? Oh, very simple. Once upon a time, it's hard for me to explain this, but everybody now has a mask, right? Oh, what happens when you remove the mask? Oh, see? Pero yung hinihinga mo, pareho pa rin bang pumapasok? The amount of air that goes into your lungs, is it the same? See? But it takes more effort to inhale and exhale. Tama? Oh, so yun yung ibig sabihin ng flow. How fast the air goes in. Or how easy the air goes in, how easy the air goes out. That's the trabaho of the air filter and the headers. Now, the air filter works as it says, it filters the air because you don't want dirty air going in. The way that it increases flow is because yung element niya, the filtration element, is a lot less restrictive than yung stock na papel. Your stock paper filter is like this. Di ba? Ganyan yan. It's papel slash fabric slash something na disposable. The K&N filter we install is made of cotton and it flows a lot more. Very simple. That blue mask actually has lousier flow than that white mask. Tama? Yun. Mas mabilis makahinga konti pag gamit mo yan kaysa yan. Yan, disposable. Yan, pwede mo pa hugas-hugasan. Sabi nila, tatapon sa rice cooker, nalilinis daw eh. So that's the analogy. And headers are kabaliktaran when it goes out. Think of headers as kalsada. Nakita mo naman yung stock na header mo, di ba? Ganun itsura. So this is the primary runners, which are connected to all 4 cylinders. The header that we change is a long, well, not long tube, but 4-1 pa rin na a lot smoother. Ganun lang. Isipin mo na kalsada yan. Oh. Kalsada na pa ganun, tapos may harang. Right? This is the catalytic converter. Oh, so isipin mo to na rough. Babato. O yan. Dadaan yung kotse. Babagal. Bago pumunta dito. Okay. Compare mo naman pag wala yan. Oh, smooth. Yun. Nice. Compare that with that header. Alin mas mabilis yung daloy ng kotse? Ito. And that's the thing. You actually change the airflow going in, going out, which also changes the air-fuel ratio of the car. Of the engine, actually. Ito yung naging problema mo nun sa Elantra mo. Laging mali ito. Kasi yung air-fuel ratio is once again dependent on a feedback system. You have an oxygen sensor here that's connected to the ECU, and this ECU connects to the injector. Pag sinabi ng oxygen sensor lean, magbubuga yan. Pag sinabi niya ng rich, magbabawas yan. Yung sa'yo, sinasabi doon, forever lean, kaya dagdag siya ng dagdag gasolina. Kaya sobrang lakas sa gas. Oh. Tapos maitim yung usok. Because a lot of that fuel just goes out, hindi nasusunog. So what we do when we actually tune, by the way, these are the terms that your friends are gonna keep asking you. Tuning, reflash, remap. Itong dalawa, iisa lang yan. They mean one and the same thing. Tuning is the act of adjustment. Forget everything that you know about engines. Anong una pumapasok sa utak niyo when you hear the word tuning? Yung pagtotono. Ano, blanco pa rin? Here's a hint. Anong ginagawa dyan? Anong tinotono dyan? Meron magaling magtono, may bobo magtono. May magaling yung pandinig, may bobo yung pandinig. Yun yung binabayaran mo. Ang tinotono mo, di ba, itong 6 lang. Tapos minsan nagpapalit ka rin ng string mismo. That is the act of tuning. Yung adjustment na makukuha mo yung gusto mo. Now, ang next question, bakit? Hindi ba pare-pareho yung tono? O sige, tono na pang acoustic, pareho na sa pang tono ng rock and roll? Oh, yun, there you go. Hindi. So, this is why also there's different kinds of tuning done to the car depending on saan pagagamitan. Well, obviously here, it's 99% street tune. I mean, street use. Hindi naman kayo nangangarera. So, what's most important is actually yung sibat na malakas sa unang tapak. Siyempre, dapat tumipid din ng konti. Which is why in tuning, the things that are adjusted are fuel and spark. You can add and subtract fuel, you can advance and retard spark. Yung air, wala kang magagawa doon. Yung 1.6 pa rin. Remember that? So, every tuning in the world adjusts these two in a nutshell. Very, very simplified. Ito yung ginagalaw. And this is what happens when we reflash the car, remap the car, or use unit chip to tune it. Ang nagtotono, tao pa rin. Hindi yung computer nagtotono. Yung computer lang ang device na pang tono. So what we did with your car a while ago is that when I saw the air fuel ratio after the intake, actually stuck pa lang eh. 14.7. This line means stoichiometric, meaning that under laboratory conditions, every single drop of fuel gets burned, turns into energy, and your only byproduct is carbon dioxide and water. That doesn't happen. In the ideal world, if you have an air-fuel ratio at this exact line, hindi siya yung best power. For Lancers, and actually it's very similar to Hondas, the ideal ratio is anywhere from 13.5 to about 12.5 is to 1. So banda dito yan. So that's, kanina, in stock form, your air-fuel ratio looks like that. And then, tlok, bumabaksak ng ganyan. This is what we call lean. So what we did was we added a bit of fuel to make it more rich to get to this level, 13.5 to 12.5. Ito, dyan. So your air-fuel ratio mo ngayon, ito na yon, which is pretty optimal. Now, next question. Why don't we add even more fuel para lalong lumakas? No, hindi ganun yun. If you add too much fuel, na bumaba pa tong linya na to, humihina yung kotse. Pag nagbawas ka, obviously mahina na. No? Pag nagbawas ka, lalo pang hihina. Oh, yes, ganun na ganun yung sayo. Exactly. Lunod na lunod. Sayo, 10 la ata eh. So, nung na-correct oxygen sensor, when we tuned it, it went to 13.5 to about 13:1, which is for gasoline cars. Generally, ito yung range na gusto nila. Like I said, every car is different, every car make model is different. There are some who like it a little bit more rich, there are some who like it lean, there are others that we found out na who wants it, let's say, 14.5. Yan, sobrang dikit dyan. Pero dito siya pinakamalakas at dito siya masaya. This one, we will not find out if we don't have a dyno. Kung tama yung tono o hindi. Even though like mga nagsi-street tuning, they have a oxygen sensor, they don't know if it's the correct air-fuel ratio. Best guess pa rin lagi dito. But like I said, there are some cars that are happier lean, there are some cars happier rich, which you won't know if you're just beat it on the street. So that's for fueling. As for spark, there's advance and then there's retard. Advance simply means na mas maaga pumutok yung spark plug. Retard means mas late pumutok. In almost all tuning we do, it's always all advance. Yung nagre-retard lang, bihirang-bihira to, except pag nagtuturbocharge ka ng kotse. That's the only time that you retard stock timing. So, sa'yo, advance is normally anywhere from +2 to +5 degrees. Yung adjustment. Ito na yon. Ang next question, kung tumataas, lumalakas, can we do +10? Yes, pwede. Not necessarily lalakas, baka tumope. So once again, you won't find that also if you don't have a dyno. The more experienced tuners will actually know pag narinig nila kung ano yung tope. Ang pinakatunog nun is, di ba, manual ka. Minsan umaangat ka, pagyat. Tapos naka-segunda ka, apak ka, tarrok, may tunog na ganon. Yun yung tope. Ibig sabihin nun, either masyado advanced yung timing or number 2, masyado madaming hangin, kulang yung gasolina. Basta, but that's the sound of tope, yung tarrok na tunog. Mali yung description lagi sa internet nun eh. The Americans always use the word, it's a pinging sound. Eh, pag ping, matalas yun eh. Hindi. The actual more correct sound is parang kuha ka ng bato, kalog mo sa lata. Yun yung tunog. This is actually a wrong term. I don't know why the Americans keep using it because they're kind of stupid too anyway. So in a nutshell, that's what reflashing does. And another part of the reflash which we do is the throttle. Because every car made from 2005 upwards always has throttle delay. Built-in yan. Kahit anong kotse yan, kahit sino pa gumawa niyan, meron lahat yan. The whole reason why they do that is because pag hindi nila ginawa yan, baksak sa emissions sa US. At hindi nila pwede ibenta yung kotse nila sa US. So what America says, we all follow. Diba? Diba? But this one, this throttle delay, only happens for the first 30% of your tapak. Anything beyond that, kasi gano'n nga rin eh. Let's say you tapak 20% sa pedal. Your throttle doesn't necessarily open 20%. Sometimes it opens 15, maybe 13, maybe even lower, 12. Di ko alam. But it's not 1:1. But beyond 30%, nagwa 1:1 na siya. Eh, malalim na tapak na yun eh. Doon kayo nababad trip, di ba? Yung kailangan malalim yung tampak para may sibat. Ito yung dahilan doon. Ito, naayos din to sa reflash. Ginagawa na namin pretty much 1:1. So, for every 20% tapak, 20% din yung bukas. Which, when we test drive later, you tell me now kung naramdam mo, hindi. Nagbibideo pa ito mga ito, hindi mo naman papaiyakin eh. Ano ka ba magpaiyak? Ha? Hindi? Sumusubukan natin mamaya?
Pwede rin siya.
Pwede rin? Sige, oo pa.
Parang lumambot to.
Less I think the word you're looking for is less effort.
Oo, parang lumambot.
Actually, no.
Kanan.
Kanan, oo. Parang gumaan yung pakiramdam.
Parang gumaan.
Yun. That's the one that you're looking for. Then, kanan ulit. Kasi dito medyo mahaba to na pwede kong umupak.
Pwede dito.
Yeah.
Ay, ano? Lambot? Parang lumambot?
Okay, that's another way of describing it, but okay.
Parang lumabay.
Pagdating dun sa dulo, U-turn ka. Yan, dito, public dito. Less truck, so you can drive more.
Pwede dito siya.
Pwede dito yan, yeah. That's also why tumitibig siya when you drive normally, because ang tendency ng tao is you do you even look at these things? Hindi, di ba? Basta nasa pakiramdam mo na, oy, tama na yung bilis ko, unconsciously bumibitaw ka eh. So that's where the fuel economy comes from, because less na yung tapak mo sa pedal. And which all goes back to na mas magaan yung pakiramdam ng kotse. Yep.
Saan tayo sa ringan?
Ayun, dito na ulit sa top light.
Parang ano eh, bago.
Bago.
Para na-adjust.
So now you have a first-hand experience of what a properly modified car should do. And ano yung pakiramdam, kasi all the kwentong in the world, dito ka. All the kwentong in the world cannot make up for you actually driving it.
Yung nararamdaman.
Oo, iba yung pakiramdam eh.
Na-experience mo.
Yep, exactly.
Sarap pala. Sarap bera ng bera.
Yes, that normally always happens after you get shoot. Bibira ka talaga, bibira. Okay, let's see if we can do a drag. Parada mo dito ng konti. I'm sure I have to do a drag launch. Give your friends a show.